What's going on and what's happening, and welcome into the Week 14 edition of the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Treavor Scales, Harry Douglas back one more again, and Christine Williamson back in the building joining us here for the final full slate of college football action in this here season, this 2019-2020 season. We have plenty going on, as you're well aware of, one of which being the Iron Bowl. But let's talk a little something that's already happened across college football in the rivalry week that we've had to this point. We'll start things off in the Big Ten. The game, as everybody knows it, by Ohio State and Michigan squaring off. And Harry, Ohio State earns its 8th straight win in dominant fashion. 56-27 is the final score. A whole lot of fight songs being played throughout. Wonderful performance from J.K. Dobbins, a career high from him. Justin Fields did his thing as well. We're looking at 3 Heisman candidates on one roster, Harry. I don't know what to do with this Ohio State Buckeye team.
Well, when it comes to this football team, everything goes through J.K. Dobbins. This man right now is unbelievable. He's tough, he's strong, he's fast. He's just your bell cow right now, and everybody else feeds off of him.
And I'll tell you what, man, this team has made the case for being the most complete team in all of the land, right? We saw not only what they could do offensively and the explosive plays that they racked up, but also defensively. And real quick, before we move any further, there was a moment in which Fields went down with a knee injury, came back in with the Don Joy brace on, and proceeded to just throw an absolute dime on the run rolling to his left.
Fields he's been very efficient, completing the balls that he should complete, but also when he has to throw it up to his receivers, they're going up and making plays for him. And this defense had another dominating performance. I think the game-changing point in this game, though, was when Shea Patterson fumbled the football when they were going in to score. And from that moment on, the game was dismantled. It
was a one-score game at that point, and then it just got out of hand, frankly. Like, the talent took over for the Buckeyes. A solid day from Justin Fields, like you mentioned. A proficient day, 302 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He's got 37 passing touchdowns this season, just 2 shy of tying Drew Brees for the second most passing touchdowns in a single season in conference history. But again, this Ohio State Buckeyes team is number 1 for a reason. They've clearly separated themselves from the pack as far as being a complete and dominant team on both sides of the ball.
Well, they're complete from top to bottom, and not just offense and defense from a special team standpoint. These young men, they thrive for the moment. They love the big games, and if you're a top team and coming in to play the Ohio State Buckeyes, be ready, because they're not going to take anything lightly on you.
We are far from the only people that really appreciate the greatness that is the Ohio State Buckeyes program. We had a brother on site. He's usually in here with us. But, Garrett Striewski, what do you think of these jokers?
All right, so we knew Ohio State was good. I didn't know they were 30 points better than Michigan good. Justin Fields went off. J.K. Dobbins went off. The only way they could really stop that offense was stealing their shoes. That's literally it. Everybody went crazy. Chase Young, my first time seeing him play in person. And he's just as good as advertised. Even when he wasn't directly involved in the play, he had some part in it. This was crazy. I've seen these guys play now once in person. I'm still giving the nod to LSU. But god dang, Ohio State is a good football team. And look, this is a Michigan home game. Didn't feel that way.
Look, Gary, I appreciate you kind of throwing up the LSU Tigers just a little bit there, but I just don't think that they're as complete as Ohio State, and that's really what it boils down to it for me.
As of right now, Ohio State is the most complete team in college football. Hands down, no arguments. LSU, they're having trouble with their defense and getting stops, and they basically have to thrive on their offense week in and week out. Ohio State can do it in any form or fashion.
They are on top of the Big Ten East without question. We had to sort out the Big Ten West, and that was courtesy of the battle for the Paul Bunyan Axe. Minnesota and Wisconsin squaring off. Number 8 taking on number 12. A whole lot of precipitation in the form of snow coming down, but the scores were ran up, and not by the team that you thought it was. Wisconsin got off to a fast start, and they rolled. Right, Minnesota was able to hold serve for just a little while, but eventually the Badger offense took over. Jonathan Taylor, only had, under 100 yards on the ground. I think about 76 total rushing on the day, but 2 receiving touchdowns is how he got his money. They were spreading the ball around in an unexpected way. They get a 38-17 win, and they'll face Ohio State one more time in the Big Ten title game.
And what you've seen today during that game is what Wisconsin has been relying on the entire year. Defense, defense, defense. And that's what concerned me going into this game. Can the offense of Minnesota thrive against this Wisconsin defense, who's ranked probably top 10 in every category in college football this year so far?
Without question. And I think you got a surprising performance from one Jack Cohen, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was able to get the ball downfield. And every once in a while, he's able to kind of open up that offense. And that's what helps a guy like Jonathan Taylor succeed. So you hope that kind of gets rolling. Do you think that they have a shot in this Big Ten title game, though, against the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Well, I know they want the revenge, but do they have a shot? No.
Oh, that was a quick no. That's just
no whatsoever.
I don't know, though, because there's something different about playing a team twice, especially in football, right? Like you played in the pros, 10 years in the pros, having to face a divisional opponent twice a year. It's not necessarily the whole rule of better team wins every single time. Sometimes you get caught slipping. Shout out to the Falcons and Saints.
My thing is if Wisconsin gets down, can they come back? Can they match score from score with Ohio State? In my eyes, their offense is not built like that. So, no, they're a run-first offense. Take time off the clock. Don't let your opposing quarterbacks get on the field and do their thing. So, against Ohio State can score in any way. So I don't see Wisconsin being able to keep up with
that. Yeah, it's a tough game to keep up with an offense that's as proficient as the Buckeyes. It's also tough to keep up with Clemson. They are really rolling at the right time headed into this postseason. They squared up against their rival, the Palmetto State rivalry game, right, Christine?
That's what it's called.
Perfect. They were taking on South Carolina in Williams-Brice Stadium, and this one was ugly from the start. Trevor Lawrence has been balling his tail end off. Travis Etienne just had 15 carries for 51 yards, but had 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. Gives him the ACC career record for rushing touchdowns with 53 and total touchdowns with 57 of those. Pittsburgh's James Conner held both of those crowns before. But we found out post-game, and shout out to you for kind of bringing up this quote. Dabo Swinney came out and said, according to our Chris Lowe, obviously if we lose this game, we being Clemson, they are going to kick us out. They don't want us there anyway. We dropped to 20 had Clemson lost Saturday. Georgia loses to this very same team, that being South Carolina, and it's how do we keep Georgia in? Your opinion?
Tell the truth and shame the devil, Dabo. Tell the truth and shame the devil, Dabo.
But I don't know if there's this massive agenda to keep the Bulldogs in. I think it's tough to argue.
Trevor,
I don't think there's. It does sound good. It was a great argument presented by Dabo. But I think there's a matter of who else you're gonna put in there, right? Like there's we talked about this pre-show.
Bama.
Most deserving, but again,
Utah.
Most deserving and best. Okay, right? So there's this Venn diagram.
They lost to South Carolina at home, a team that Clemson just beat by 35 in South Carolina.
Fair. Utah lost to a USC team that was down to their 3rd quarterback, Clay Helton, and the head coach that's probably out of here after this season.
Yeah.
Utah is not necessarily in the most deserving category.
Who's a better team? Who's a better team, South Carolina or USC?
Again, best and most deserving. 2 separate conversations that have to come together.
Which USC is better? USC West? USC South. You tell me right now. Which USC is best? You tell me right now.
A solid argument to present. But again, as far as if we're going to go opponent versus opponent.
I want Trevor Scales to answer the question.
I'm not honestly
USC
not sure.
and South Carolina, who's better?
I honestly do not know who is better between those 2 programs.
Oh, my
Well, I think
daggone well, neither one of those teams has impressed either one of us.
In that situation, Dabo is way more talking about the fact that Clemson gets a lot of disrespect than he's talking about the fact that Georgia gets respect. Obviously, if Clemson would have lost that game, he's more talking about the fact that if that team would have lost, then they would be out of the playoff. Not necessarily that Georgia lost and is in the playoff.
Christine.
That's what he's talking. Think about week 1 Clemson. Week 1 Clemson, undefeated Clemson was not in the top 5 or in the top 4, right? So I think he's more talking about the disrespect for Clemson than he's talking about the respect for Georgia.
Clemson's gotten a lot of benefit of the doubt. They went into overtime with North Carolina, and we kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt. Again, everybody gets one, right? Yeah. So we're affording everybody. I'm tired of the discussion of there being some sort of agenda. I don't feel like there's some sort of agenda aligning teams to be in this college football playoff. all that aside, I do want to celebrate Clemson. I know I'm sitting here talking spicy in a sense, but our AT&T best performer comes from that Clemson Tiger roster. It is one Trevor Lawrence. Shout out to my namesake. Again, he's really turned it on as of late. 26 of 36 in today's performance, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also ran the ball for 66 yards. That still puzzles me when you have Travis Etienne in the background. But Harry, this brother's putting in some performances to close out this season that make you really think that this Clemson Tiger team is certainly in the conversation for their national championship.
Of course it is. Early on, he struggled with some terrible throws. Now you see him dropping those Dilfer dimes in there to those receivers that he has, and he has a heck of a group of playmakers to get the football to. But since that North Carolina game, this Clemson team, once again, I think Clemson and Ohio State are the 2 most complete football teams in college right now. They're showing it. They're playing great. They're beating opponents by a large amount of victory, and they're just going to thrive through this thing, and they're going to be in the college football playoffs.
Let's head to the SEC. Georgia taking on Georgia Tech. Another ACC-SEC crossover for rivalry weekend, by the way. A slow start for the Dogs. Early turnovers. DeAndre Swift fumbled. Jake Fromm was just off the mark, and we can get into that a lot later. But in any case, they found a way to make the final score look pretty in their favor. But there were moments and pitfalls within Georgia's performance that made you question, like you said, with every reason intact, that are we sure this is the number 4 team in the nation?
Well, right now, I do not think they're the number 4 team in the nation. They're not playing as such. You have guys 12 men on the field on a punt team, and you give Georgia Tech a first down. You have Graham for Georgia Tech, who's only completing 47% of his passes. So it's not like Georgia is going against week in and week out prolific offenses and teams that can put up points, because today, last week, and a few other games, if they played against teams who had decent offenses, they will be coming out with L's and not dubs.
That's fair. We'll talk to another L in a second here. But first, DeAndre Swift, a quick update on him.
Yep.
You saw him go down in that highlight, a shoulder injury. Kirby Smart came out post-game, said he expects him to be fine, just a shoulder contusion. So for that SEC championship, we will see him. We expect at least to see DeAndre Swift, that big part of that offense that seems to only really be able to get some production out of the ground game. We'll see him all 4 quarters of that one we won't see.
He is the only bright spot for Georgia's offense right now at this time.
That's totally fair. Look, you sit here talking spicy plenty, and we had to go ahead and just build out a front end for how spicy you get to talking about these Georgia Bulldogs. And it's just ironic, the fact that this man is born and bred in the state of Georgia.
I can't.
Prideful of it. We connected him that over the phone about his connection to Georgia. We now
she
have
on the couch today.
Yeah.
She ready for me.
She took
She on the couch today. She got a ponytail
time
and everything.
this weekend.
She's ready for me
She's
today.
ready to go. Elle Duncan joining the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And Elle, I will let you have the floor for the moment because my man Harry has been dogging the Dogs to this point.
Yeah, I love what Harry just said. If. Well, Harry, I was taught a saying, an expression rather, from my grandma a long time ago. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, what a wonderful Christmas. If all you want to. We can play the if game if you want. Listen, do I feel solid and strong about this Georgia team heading into the SEC championship? Not particularly, but it's certainly not based on what I saw today. Stop it. They put up 52 points. I mean, Georgia Tech is always a trap game for them. It's a rivalry game. They looked sloppy. It wasn't great. They put up 52 points. They have beat 4 top 25 ranked opponents this year. What else do you want them to do?
What
they can
want
only
them to
play
do
who's on their schedule.
at the end of the first half against Georgia Tech, I want you to have 35 points on the board. I want you to have 42 points on the board.
And that's fine. But you know what? Here's the deal, Harry, is that for the last 3 years, I've watched Georgia absolutely boat race everyone. And then when it counts, when it actually matters in the SEC championship and in the national championship, they lose in heartbreaking fashion. I'm okay with it being this way.
Well, except against South Carolina this year and LSU last year. I'm just saying.
What I'm not okay with,
And they didn't even keep the right quarterback. You see Justin Fields out there doing his thing, balling. You keep Jake Fromm. Fromm can barely even complete a pass right now to an open receiver. Throwing balls behind receivers, underthrowing go routes. Go ahead, Elle. I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. But the truth is the truth.
I have said it and acknowledged it multiple times, Harry. The point is that we can't go back. Revisionist history. We can't go back and say you never should have lost out on Justin Fields, because guess what? Ohio State said no thank you to Joe Burrows, okay? So we can sit here and go back
but they
and
have
forth
Justin
all
Fields
day
now,
about
so they're not saying, oh, no,
the point is,
Joe Burrow.
he's our quarterback. He's the guy under center. What I'm more concerned with is that an offense that was filled with question marks anyway, and was down Lawrence Cager, who has been absolutely imperative to Jake Fromm in what has been his worst season as the Georgia quarterback, that George Pickens thinks that it's smart to pick a fight, quite literally, pun intended, pick a fight with someone on a 3-win team who you're beating by 30 points. What are you thinking? And now he's going to be suspended in the first half of the LSU game. So what looked like it was already going to be an uphill battle has become almost insurmountable.
Look at my legs crossed on this screen, Elle.
See, Harry over here being petty. I'm not entirely sure why
when
he
it comes
feels
SEC
the need to
championship
do
Saturday.
all this. But I do want to kind of get your thoughts. And you are the emotion for me typically. You actually like really better encapsulate my fandom in words. And so can you help me kind of explain the frustration that occurs with a guy like George Pickens, even though it was a hilarious instance? I'm not in the business of getting on this high horse.
What y'all want him to do?
But please just help me out with George Pickens and just the impact that he has and now having to sit out the first half of this joint.
He don't have an impact. I'll say it for you. He's done for the first half, so his impact is going to be non-existent.
But I asked Elle, dog.
But I'm jumping in,
I was going
Treavor.
to say, well, yeah, Harry, I mean, was that your hard-hitting analysis? He'll have no impact because he'll be benched? Well, yeah, dude, I can tell you that. Hit dogs don't holler. Here's the deal. It's incredibly frustrating because while I'm not super concerned with DeAndre Swift's injury, I mean, if this was the SEC championship, I think he comes back in that game. It can't all fall on him. And at this point, what LSU is going to do, because, listen, that LSU defense doesn't scare anybody. So even Jake Fromm could go off potentially against that LSU defense. They're absolutely awful. I think Ole Miss put up a bunch of points on them a couple weeks ago. So I'm not concerned in terms of that. My concern is that you were always going to have to be able to keep up with LSU's offense. Now, I will say this. Auburn was able to somewhat contain them. I think they kept them to less than 25 points. And so that was our goal. Our goal was to try to beat an LSU team by keeping them to within 25 points. And if you could keep them, right, at about a 20-25 ball, you could potentially win that game. Without Pickens for an entire half, my biggest concern is that LSU jumps out to a lead that we won't be able to come back from, because this Georgia team is not built to come back from a significant deficit. They are 100% built to grind this thing out. And I'm concerned that by the time Pickens comes back into the game, it will be over.
One thing I think LSU is going to do in this game, they have the corners to play man coverage. I think they're going to man up these receivers and stack that box and stop Georgia's run game, who right now is the only thing working for the offense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But I think they're going to stack that box. But it's still going to be hard for LSU because they don't have those guys on defense that they had in the past. But I still think if you put an extra guy in that box and you force those receivers to beat you, I don't think it's going to happen.
They will. They've become completely one-dimensional, I think, this year in general. But then you lose Cager and Pickens for an entire half, and they're entirely one-dimensional. So at this point, you stop Swift, then you're certainly going to be able to tee off on Jake Fromm. I'm hoping that last year, where he had these incredible games week in and week out, that maybe the reverse will be true this week or next week rather, and that he's been bad all year long, and he'll just decide to pull some magic trick out of his you-know-what, and all of a sudden he'll be amazing. But I have one question for you, Treavor, as Harry just keeps going in, and it's something that's been bothering me for a long time. Because you asked how someone from Atlanta, a Jonesboro kid, could be so anti-Georgia. Well, it's because he went to Louisville. He couldn't get into Georgia, so he went to Louisville. And my question for you...
Georgia gave me my first offer
my
junior year in high school.
Alma Mater,
I chose
Harry,
not to go
my
to them
question
sticky
for you
dogs.
would be, we've all fallen in love with Lamar Jackson over the last few weeks, and I'm just wondering, how is it possible that you could lose 4 games a season with Lamar Jackson under center?
They didn't have any other thing on the offense but Lamar. Lamar
riddle
was the
me that,
only thing
Harry
they
Douglas.
had.
How is that even possible?
And on that note, there's so much petty on this set right now, both virtually and physically, with the legs
How's that
crossed.
possible, Harry?
That's a question that I am not equipped to answer,
yeah.
Elle Duncan. We appreciate
No
you
one
joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. That is Harry Douglas going head-to-head with the state of Georgia, represented by one Elle Duncan. We appreciate you shouting. Quick little update for the viewers out here on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app. Auburn and Alabama going at it. 2:10 left. A rushing touchdown by Auburn put them back up by 3. Alabama's working with the ball now.
Third and goal.
Clock is ticking. 3rd and goal. Mac Jones and them trying to get back ahead in a back-and-forth affair. They're at the Auburn 10-yard line, sitting in the gun. And, Harry, it's just been an incredible display of offense. But to kind of bring that thing full circle regarding the discussion that you were having with Elle, defensively,
yeah,
I think we've seen essentially that Alabama has been flat out exposed, right? Like against an Auburn
But that's
team.
been all year. That's been all year.
They haven't been, but I don't think anybody's seen it to be this sort of detrimental to their roster. So, like, how then does the committee, how are they supposed to assess this Alabama team when it comes to kind of rationalizing, inserting them into the playoff when they just flat out aren't good defensively?
Well, LSU aren't good defensively, and they can score points. And you've seen, you have Waddle, a 4th option on this team.
Thank you for correcting that.
Scoring 4 touchdowns, 3 receiving, a kick return for a touchdown. But you have so many guys on this offense that are explosive. And this game wouldn't even be this close if Mac Jones wouldn't have threw 2 pick sixes for touchdowns. Mac Jones, you better be. I might bruh you later. I'm telling you now. If Alabama loses this game, I'm going to bruh you later.
A little bonus bruh on the way out. He might just offer you that one. Mac Jones, shout out to you. It's just a matter of kind of sorting out that SEC championship. We'll see it all play out on the field, right? We can have all the discussions that we want to. There's another big conference championship in the Baylor and Kansas tilt that was sorted out. We know Baylor's going to participate in this Big 12 championship, take on Oklahoma. And I think that's an interesting discussion to have in regards to the Big 12 champ getting inserted into this conversation, because either way you slice it, it's going to be tough to rationalize a leapfrog over Bama, a leapfrog over Georgia even, and Utah as well, right? As far as Baylor getting in as a one-loss, Baylor getting in as a one-loss team, or Oklahoma getting in as a loss to Kansas State. I don't think either one of those losses sort of get mitigated by what they've been able to put out on the field.
I think what will help Baylor out is Alabama losing today, Utah losing, then them beating Oklahoma, so you have no choice at that point but to put them in. That's the only thing Baylor could hope for right now at this point.
So when it comes to how they stack up to the committee,
and that'll be a Georgia loss in the SEC championship. I forgot to.
Right, like we're given that situation, right? Like if that all plays out the way it does, that we expect it to, you're willing to, I guess, with 2 losses, we talked about most deserving versus best. So then Bama sits this week. If they win out this week, if we have Georgia lose, Georgia loses in the SEC championship, Baylor is then the winner over Oklahoma. They redeemed their loss earlier in the season.
I'm sorry, Trevor. Alabama just missed the field goal.
Alabama. No, thank you for updating the viewers. That's a great job on you.
You're gonna lose.
That is.
He just hit the goalpost.
As that was a 48-45 game, and it remains the same with under 2 minutes remaining with Auburn with the ball on their own 20-yard line. That is the state of the Iron Bowl currently going down right here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And to kind of get back into this, would you remind me one more time, Marissa, what you said just now? Yeah, we're going to talk about this. Let's get a visual representation of the current standings as it goes with the College Football Playoff Committee. The top 10, as we discuss our road to the College Football Playoff. As it stands, results included. There's a look at it. We talked about the dominance that Ohio State showed. LSU continues to do the same. They'll square up against Texas A&M later on this evening. As a matter of fact, they actually kicked off already. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Clemson in that 3 slot. Dabo talking spicy. Georgia sitting at 4. They took care of business today. And you can run down the top 10. The possible candidates look like 5, 6, and 7 theoretically when it comes to this College Football Playoff Committee. But now we have Heather Dinich, our College Football Playoff Committee expert, joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And I want to kind of open up the discussion surrounding that, how the committee is supposed to assess all of these teams in that 5 through 7 slot. You had the committee chair on College Game Day earlier today. I'd like to get your thoughts on what he perceives that sort of area of the rankings to be.
Well, he told us, Rob Mullins, the select committee chair, told us this morning that when you start talking about Utah, Oklahoma, Alabama, that 5, 6, 7 range is really close. They talked and debated about all of those teams a lot this past week. We'll see what happens here in the last 2 minutes. But I don't think Alabama can say it's, quote, unequivocally one of the 4 best teams in the country after this. Win or not. Lose, and they're out of the discussion, right? But Rob Mullins made it very clear. I asked him what unequivocally meant. He said that it's a very high bar, and this isn't it.
No, it's not. Right? It boils down to allowing 48 points on your defense and not necessarily the miscues offensively and not just in regards to turnovers, but also just poor penalties and taking things like that into account.
Right. I said going into this game, Alabama, everybody kept asking, what does Alabama have to do, right? Two things I said they shouldn't do are penalties and turnovers. And we've seen both of those, especially really costly penalties that have contributed to Auburn first downs. But this game has been so wild. It's like fourth down, no big deal.
And Heather, I'm going to ask you this. How important is this Alabama game and them losing to Oklahoma, Baylor?
Right, it opens
like
up even further, right? The first domino to fall was Oregon, right? Opens everything up.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at Utah really needs to win convincingly. They're in this thing. But Wisconsin was the final score. It looked like Wisconsin handled them.
They did.
Easily.
It was a 3-score game.
So, I mean, this can get crazy because Wisconsin can be a 2-loss Big Ten champ. Remember, they played Ohio State earlier in the year. They lost to the Buckeyes. You know how hard it is to beat a team twice, right? What if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten? There's still a lot of things that can happen. To me, the committee could make a very controversial decision and put Ohio State in ahead of Wisconsin.
Which would be a testament to the dominance all season that we saw from the Buckeyes.
Their body of work.
Correct?
They would deserve that, though.
Right.
It makes sense that you can rationalize something like that. It would be a lot tougher to kind of rationalize a Wisconsin entering the conversation, given the loss in Champaign, given the loss to Ohio State earlier in the season.
And
but
you
I kind of want
to put a 2-loss team ahead of a 1-loss team. I don't care if
when
you're
they split,
a conference
right.
champion or not. Like you can't do that.
I think that's a fair argument, but I kind of want to expand the conversation into a holiday theme around here. It was, we got past Thanksgiving and everything, so we could throw up the Christmas lights, holiday lights, or whatever have you. When it comes to the wish list for a Utah, for an Oklahoma, what are they hoping happens throughout the rest of the night or in the championship weekend?
Very first domino that has to fall is LSU has to beat Georgia. And I think given what we saw from Georgia today, every day it feels like it's more likely that Georgia's going to lose in the SEC championship.
Say that again, Heather. Say it for the people. Say it for right here.
This right here.
Right there.
Georgia gonna lose.
Oh!
You heard the southern accent. You heard the southern accent.
That's my Northeast PA.
That'll work. But if we're looking from Utah's perspective, what are they hoping to complete? What are they hoping happens in front of them? What do they need in order to land in that college football playoff conversation at the end of the week?
So with Georgia out of the top spot, they need a dominant win in the Pac-12 championship game. They are in a great position right now, especially with the way Alabama looked today, to leapfrog into that fourth spot, right? But it would also help them if Oklahoma lost tonight to Oklahoma State. It would also help. I mean, look, the committee doesn't have a ton of respect for Baylor. They're sitting there at number 9. Part of the reason they moved up was because last week Oregon and Penn State both lost. There's a little bit of that wiggle in the lineup as opposed to, oh, Baylor's really good, we're going to move them up. Not to take anything away from them. They've played outstanding defensively. Good team, right? But I think Oklahoma remains the Big 12's best shot. So if you can eliminate them from the conversation, get a big win against Oregon, then I think Utah's in really good
And I think it helps Oklahoma that they have that it factor player at quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And you also have that receiver in CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb is terrific. And the committee noticed that they beat Baylor without him.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can take away your best player on the team, as good as their quarterback is, I think CeeDee's the best player.
So just to kind of clear things up for the viewers here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T, that score has gone final. Alabama falls in the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare, 48-45. That is your final score. And so now another chip. Domino has
another one.
That is another one, as one DJ Khaled would say.
That makes it easier for the committee.
Exactly.
It really makes it a lot easier if Utah can handle its business down the stretch. I mean, I think to me you're looking at LSU or Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, and then the Pac-12.
I also want to kind of rewind a little bit to the Oklahoma conversation a little bit, because how much does the committee take game flow into account? We understand that they were able to beat Baylor in the final score without CeeDee Lamb. They were also down 28-3, right? Like there was a moment of just pure dominance from the Baylor Bears. How much is the committee like taking that into account?
A lot. Also with the loss to K-State, you saw in the first
domination.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, maybe it's not that bad. Well, they do watch the entire game, the flow of the game. I've asked them about that before, just like you saw Alabama in the first half against LSU, right? You can't just eliminate the first half of a football game. It's all one big flow and picture. But at the same time, the fact that they were able to come back and win that game does say something about the team.
And they have a chance to avenge their loss.
Biggest thing about it.
So that's one of the key pieces to this whole thing. They have a chance to play Baylor again and beat them convincingly to avenge their loss.
A similar thing that we saw to Georgia when they made it back in after avenging their loss to Auburn earlier in the season, where they go into the SEC championship, capitalize on that sort of chip to hold. That means Oklahoma would have their chip in the conference championship to make their resume stack just a little bit.
Because that's what Oklahoma did. Was it
last year
against Texas?
Same deal.
Exactly.
Yep, same deal.
Yep, that matters. And again, going back to the Big Ten, Wisconsin can have the chance to do the same thing, but that second loss to Illinois is just, that's going to stick.
That is the one that sort of takes them out of contention.
Turnovers.
It is a very, very tough slate for them going forward. But we are excited about the slate that's coming up here on our ESPN family of networks. We appreciate you joining us here, Heather Dinich, the College Football Playoff Committee expert. But what we have for you to take in coming up on the ESPN family of networks, some dang good football I expect that we hope is on everyone's wish list. Your evening lineup starting with the number 2 Tigers hosting the Aggies. That is over on ESPN right now. LSU leads 7-0 early.
Not a
Utes
surprise.
looking to roll into the Pac-12 championship with just that one loss. They've got Colorado in town, and at the same time, the Sunshine Showdown. Florida State heads to the Swamp. That is on SEC Network. It has just kicked off as well. But let's go back to that Pac-12 matchup between Utah and Colorado. What better way to get things popping than a little today's lesson presented by Dos Equis, and it comes courtesy of one Dan Orlovsky.
Hey, this is Dan Orlovsky for the College Football Show, and today's lesson is going to be how the Utah Utes continue to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. Tip number 1, watch Tyler Huntley and Zach Moss in the efficiency, both quarterback and running back wise, within this offense. Very good in the run game, very good in the pass game. And then tip number 2, America gets to watch one of the best defensive lines in the country. Watch them control the line of scrimmage in the run game and then push the pocket in the pass game. And that's today's lesson.
And so that is your primetime preview. We appreciate you joining us, Dan Orlovsky. And this Utah defense is something to behold, Harry. We know that the number 6 team in the nation really does a good job on that side of the ball. We have questions about the offense, but that can sort of get sorted out if they handle business tonight against Colorado. We'll make sure we check in and keep you updated on that score as well. And look, like Heather said, they have a shot to make a little bit of hay in this college football playoff conversation, especially with the Alabama loss.
Well, you look at this Utah team, they are balanced. They are well balanced. With Huntley, he's completing 75% of his passes, only 2 interceptions. When you take care of the football like that, great things are going to happen for your offense. Zach Moss, balanced running back, rushing and receiving the football. Then you look on the other side, and you have Bradley Anae. That young man can rush the quarterback. But this defense does it by committee, and they're just playing great football right now.
Fast and physical and big, too, right? Like, that's not something that we typically associate with that Pac-12 region, right? Like, they're typically known for the team speed, the ability to kind of get around on the edge, but that physical nature that we've seen from both Oregon and Utah this season has really taken over that top of the conference. So, Christine, as we bring you into the College Football Show, kind of get you out of that bar area.
Out of the corner. I'm like hidden. In
no, you handling business over there. We understand that. We're trying to allow you the space to work because we out here clowning. We want to let you work. And you come out here like you speaking ill of the corner. I'm going to tell Gary. I'm going to tell Gary. Look, man, we try to give you your own private workspace.
You know, whatever.
You speaking
it's fine.
ill
I got my
about
own
it.
setup over there, but now I'm over here.
Have you been up to much? Have you been up to much over there? Did you figure out what's going on kind of around here?
Yes, of course.
You see, I try to.
Texas
That's
A&M
off the
and
backboard.
LSU. Yeah,
Talk
exactly.
to us.
Backboards.
Talk to us.
Texas A&M and LSU. We're going to start off with Joe Burrow. He's coming out for senior night. If the highlight's going to there we are.
There it is.
Joe Burrow, senior night last night. And with the Burrow jersey, I love
that's hard.
that.
The
Isn't
spelling.
that so tight?
Oh, you switched up the spelling.
So tight. All right, so on the first drive, LSU scores. Joe Burrow connects with Jamar Chase for 30 yards. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire finishes with the drive in the 5-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, and so this LSU Tigers offense continues to prove exactly why they are in that number 2 area, and dang sure could make a case for number 1. 14 points early on against the Texas A&M team that Georgia struggled against, that a couple teams have struggled against this season. LSU is really they've proven time and time again on the biggest of stages that they are a wagon that you're going to have to deal with on a week-to-week
And
basis.
they have a running back that I don't think gets enough credit right now, and Edwards-Helaire. He can do it all. But then you have Marshall. You have Chase.
Yep, Jamar Chase, yep.
And then
Justin Jefferson on the outside, yeah.
So it's just like Alabama with Najee Harris and the receivers that they have. Those guys can put up points, and then you have the quarterback who can deliver the football, who's going to be the Heisman winner this year. So the thing that bothers me about LSU, can they defend when they get to the college football playoffs? Can they get a key stop when the game's on the line, when their offense needs them to get the ball back? Can that happen? And I'll say in a great fashion, though.
No doubt, no doubt. A whole lot of questions
manner.
there that we still got to sort out, but I ain't got no questions about this next segment. It is my favorite segment, without a doubt. Holy cow. We say holy cow because this is a family program. We can't say holy bleep. Our first entry comes from the Governor's Cup. And I'm so sorry, Harry Douglas, but y'all done did this to me all season. Somebody else gonna get this work for once. Kentucky had a quarterback by the name of Lynn Bowden Jr. Who ran for 284 yards. That is the most in a game by an SEC quarterback in conference history. Just a heck of an effort in the big-time win for the Kentucky Wildcats over Harry's Louisville Cardinals, 45-13. Listen, I am sorry for you, brother. I wanted to kind of get up out of there as far as the highlight goes. My score, though, in 89. I could have given this day near 100, but I felt bad. So I just had to kind of lay it down. I wanted to kind of have a little mercy for my man's next to me.
Well, I'll tell y'all this. As much as I hate Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
That took a turn.
As much as I hate Kentucky, a spade is a spade.
Wow.
Okay.
That's 100.
Hold up.
That's
You
100.
about to-
Okay, no, but listen, do you want the floor first, or would you like me to
And
respond?
can I explain why, though?
I would love for you to
This
explain.
young man leads Kentucky in receiving yards and rushing yards, and he plays quarterback. So that's why I gave him a 100.
And that's my exact logic why I wanted to, frankly. See, okay, I got on you about
I
these
gave him
100.
an 80.
That's worth it. Okay, explain yourself.
80?
Explain yourself.
First of all, if you look
Playoffs.
I thought I did the one under the 89, but it's 2 under 89. It's a weird scale, first of all. But also,
Quit snitching. Quit snitching. Ooh,
Don't be telling people all our business. Let them
also,
know all
I
our
was just
business.
like, I feel like Louisville's defense was a problem in that as much as, Kentucky's offense was.
Christina, hey,
y'all-
And
y'all
that's
keep
not hate,
talking
but
about-
listen, this is what the hate is. If I give somebody 100, Trevor's roasting me if I give somebody 100. Harry gives somebody 100. It's like, oh yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
Again, first of all, it's like tenfold for why I got to show respect to Harry for giving that 100. First of all, he don't even like those dudes. So him giving 100 to them, that's impressive to even go in the A range,
The
in my
hate
opinion.
The hate is real.
And then, frankly,
No,
again, we talked
but-
about record setting. This brother is leading every offensive category for his team.
But
I
when
got to
you think-
kind
But
of.
when you think about it, he may have just given 100 to make it seem like he was doing more than he actually was because it was against Louisville.
That's some impressive logic. That's like mental gymnastics that I don't think I'm
you
capable
have to say
of.
the other team is really good
It's not
in order
that,
for your team to
it's
not seem
that
as
deep,
bad.
ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
not that.
I think the young man passed the ball 2 times on the entire day.
While we sort out those scores, let's move on to the next play. It comes from Aiden O'Connell to Bryson Hopkins. Indiana Purdue squaring off in the old Oaken bucket. Indiana gets up getting the win, but Purdue making the appearance in our holy cow. The concentration here is impeccable, right? Like it bounces around all kinds of places. Man's just in the right place, right time. As far as my score goes, I'll bump that up a little bit. Give him a 92, because why not? That ended up being like part of the drive that tied things up for Purdue. They ended up going on to lose that game. I understand that, but I got it as a 92. Christine,
I like it because the concentration.
Yeah.
You caught it on your back. You
For
run
sure.
a different route. It ricochets off your man. So I gave it an 89 in the same
okay, we in
range.
the ballpark. We in the ballpark.
I'm technically in the ballpark.
Yeah, no, yeah, we on the same
Party over here.
I give it a 95.
Party over
I think
here.
stuff like that is dope. I mean, you got to be in the
Party
right
over
place
here.
at the right time. You have to be paying attention to everything that's going on around you. It's a baller.
I ain't mad at it. I'm with it.
That's the first time I've ever gotten a high five on a rating that I put out.
We'll take it. We'll take it. I ain't even mad at it. Next Holy Cow moment. Shout out to the defense. I will never say that again in my life. East Carolina's Desai Hatfield gets the ball, tries to throw it, scrambles, fumble, and Reggie Robinson II ends up picking that bad boy up for Tulsa. But the key moment for me in this occurred on the tail end of the play, right? My boys that played defense in college, they were reckless, right? As soon as they got a turnover, it was nothing but 6 on the mind. And you can tell that this brother that recovered the fumble had 6 on the mind. He immediately went to pitching. And because of that, I got to award man's awareness for around the field, another 92 for that. I just love the fact that he wasn't trying to just get a turnover. He wanted more. He wanted it all. And I gotta respect something like that. Man had bigger dreams rather than just recovering a silly fumble.
Stupid is as stupid does.
Oh, wow.
You don't pitch the ball.
Wow.
You don't pitch the ball back in no traffic, son. You need to be coached up. Let me coach you up. Let me coach you up.
But look,
You pitching the ball back in a crowd.
It was all good. It was all good. So, man, listen, I don't see why you got to come down on that young man like that.
That's rude.
Because I know he wasn't coached that.
That's rude.
Probably wasn't. He's probably going renegade. Are you going to go renegade with your score?
I got an 83.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
You know,
Okay.
Why, is that your number?
Yeah.
Dang it. Why don't you choose this number? I could have chosen anything else.
Yeah, Christine, you should have done your research on that one. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you, Playboy. I'm sorry for you. So as soon as Christine held up that score, she's like, oh, bruh.
Why is he so excited about this?
Speaking of, beautiful transition there. That gets us to our next segment. Bruh, our favorite moments of the day that are literally all you can react to and all you can do to react is say, bruh. It's just one of those moments. It's exhausting to watch, but really fun to make fun of. Shout out to Georgia Tech. Yellow Jackets got that pregame pump, but then got punked in the game later on. This is just a method that I'm not necessarily used to. I understand wanting to look good in the uniform, but do that pregame, Playboy. Don't do it in the game either.
Coach Combs getting in on it. He has to.
They recovered an onside kick or whatever. Shout out to you, but nah. And see, I told y'all he got to work. George Pickens came in there, threw the DB all over the place.
Can I say what I really feel?
What's that?
Damn it, that's why you got whooped.
That's not the first
That's
You can't be lifting weights and then get slung across.
That's my thing. How you just get dogged
You
after
can't
that?
be lifting weights on the field and you can barely complete a pass.
It's an intimidation thing. It didn't work.
At
but
all.
I think it's an intimidation
It hasn't
thing.
worked much.
The worst part is they're out there with their shirts off.
They had 3 wins all season, and they've been doing that all season.
Yeah.
On the
So what we
coach's
doing?
change list for next year, let's work out inside and not outside.
That's my thing.
Because we can hardly win a game because
Dog.
we work out outside.
I'm so good
in
with
front of
you.
everybody.
The pregame pump is necessary. I get it. Get that in. Look good in your jersey, and even if you're on the sideline for a majority of the contest, but just don't show everybody the process. That's my only thing.
Just hire a new strength and
Tighten
I
up.
understand y'all want to do the curls for the girls.
Yeah.
Do it inside. Don't let them see.
Take care of that pregame. Take care of that pregame. Ohio State dogged out the Michigan Wolverines. J.K. Dobbins could not be stopped. Rushed for a career high on the day. Only chance the Wolverines had was to take this brother's shoe. And just something. It was the only thing they could hold.
I love it.
And J.K. don't know what, he's like, what is
But
going on?
check this out, bruh. I got to do whatever I need to do to win the game. Bruh, J.K. Dobbins was killing us. Bruh, no, you can't have your shoe back.
Straight like that.
I love that. I love when people do stuff like that.
Do you really?
Trying to mess them up a little bit, get in their head a little
But
bit.
it didn't work again.
I know, but you know.
You like it stuff that's just very
try to
ineffective.
pull up all the stops. If you know that you're going to be that bad, and you can get beat that bad,
I mean,
just try to do what you can to get the dub. If it means taking
by any means necessary.
That's the kind of guy I
Then
am.
do it.
By any
Yeah.
means necessary.
We talked about you at the bottom of a fumble pile. Like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
something we don't even
You don't want to
take
deal
the
with
air.
me in the bottom of a pile. Because there's no telling what I'm going to do. And I'm going to
Leave
do
it.
everything I need to do to get that ball back.
Y'all fired Ness Good before this man get in trouble. See, I hadn't seen this one before.
No.
Go hammer!
no.
Go hammer! Go hammer!
No.
Go hammer!
It was described as a duck dancing.
Go hammer!
No.
That's not a
Go
ducking.
hammer.
That ain't dancing.
That's a damn pigeon.
No.
It's a pigeon dancing.
Oh, that is a duck. I thought that was Pikachu for a second.
Go
That would have
hammer.
been. That would have
Go
been.
hammer.
Long. I would
Go
have
hammer.
welcomed that. Is
Go
that a
hammer.
fake beard? Also, is that?
No, that's his real beard. That's
No,
his
it's
real
not.
beard.
That's
Yes,
not
it
his
is.
real
Look at his
beard.
sideburns. You can tell by his sideburns.
Yeah.
Does that not look like MC Hammer to y'all back in the day?
Yes, that is the hammer.
Go hammer. Go hammer. Go hammer. Go
Oh yeah,
hammer.
we can get down at any time. No understand that. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T. The last one here is a little bit of a turn, right? Like it's Michigan again got whooped up on, and Jim Harbaugh again falls to just the depths to which no coach wants to fall. And in the post-game presser, he was asked, hey, coach, what's going on?
Ooh, I'm ready for Jim
Is there a
Harbaugh.
talent gap? Is there a coaching gap? And his response made it into this here segment.
Is this a talent gap? Is it a preparation gap? Is it a coaching gap? What is the biggest difference between you and Ohio State at this point?
I mean, I'll answer your questions, not your insults. So
That wasn't an insult. I mean, you give them 118 points in 2 years.
they played really good. They played good.
100 yards. That's what I'm asking. What's the biggest difference in the gap between you guys?
They played better today.
Understand the man's heated. He don't want to get asked if there's a talent gap or especially a coaching gap.
Yeah.
But look, bro, you kind of got to understand. You've been whooped up on. Let me go to the stats and make sure I'm correct while Harry makes his face that perfectly describes everything that I'm feeling. Your record against Ohio State, 0-5. Against AP ranked teams, you're under 500. Lost 11 out of the 13 games you played against AP top 10 teams. Now 1 college football playoff appearances, and it goes without saying, now 1 Big Ten championship game appearances.
Bro, go sit your
mad.
tail down.
He's mad.
It's a talent gap. It's a coaching gap. You know what? We're going to the Gap to buy some clothes.
But let me ask you a question.
Get out
That
of
was a
here.
really good line. I want to give you credit for that.
If you had just played poorly,
Yes.
and someone asks you a question, are you not going to respond real
A
salty?
spade, Christine, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, aren't you
Listen,
going to respond that way?
I
Annoyed,
agree. I agree
agitated?
That's
wholeheartedly.
not an insult.
It's not something that, I think that's where the misdiagnosis
That's
occurred, right?
not an
It's not
insult.
an insult.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get hit with the facts. Nobody really does,
Exactly.
especially after an L like that.
Exactly.
But a hit dog a holler. That's just kind of how the game goes.
I don't know what that is.
The dog got hit. It got hit, Christine.
Would you like to take over? Would you like to just kind of smooth ball that to the next one?
Let's
Which
go
is-
on to do something else here. We got some Man Gimme That's presented by Gary's Face Mask, Man Mask Monday.
Check 'em
We're
out.
going to start. Uh-oh, where are we starting?
Purdue.
With Purdue,
Yeah.
wide receiver, David Bell. Oh, he slipped. I love this. He slipped a little bit, then he got up and dove for the catch.
See, that's
athleticism.
That's an incredible effort, right? Like,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like-
their body control and balance has to be on another level to even complete that catch.
not to
Yeah.
mention the awareness too, right? Your brother sees the ball go up, has to go through like the back of a defender to kind of make sure he keeps his eye on that ball and track it down. Yeah, no, that's very much so worthy of that
He gets
man. Give me
thumbs
that.
up for
You're a
that.
wide
There it is,
receiver.
and
Ever
that's
slipped on a route?
yeah.
Yeah, and it's that's one of the worst. Can I tell a quick story?
Oh yeah, no, story time. Let's go run it.
We played up in Buffalo. Me, Roddy, Tony Gonzalez, all on routes. Matt Ryan goes back. All 3 of us fell on the damn route.
Wow.
Every last one of us.
Wow.
We was laughing about it so hard in the meeting room in the
Wow.
film session. Every last one of us fell on the route, and Matt Ryan
He
got
at the
sacked.
top of the drop,
I was
just
gonna
looking
say,
around like.
what happened?
Oh.
Matt Ryan got sacked.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's give some love to the FCS. How about that?
I'm always for it.
CCSU in the end zone. Ooh, little yoink.
Central
boy.
Connecticut.
Yoink.
Oh, they got styled on. I shouldn't celebrate them like that. I'm sorry.
Get in the weight room, little boy.
Yeah, go up and get that one over there, young fella.
What does that mean? Get in the weight room.
You too little. You too small.
Oh, okay, got
yeah.
it.
Little piss hand. Little bitty boy.
Whatever that means.
Get out of here, little cousin.
That is, yeah. You got a little bruh. You got a little bruh in that one. That's a tough break for the young man out there.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, gotta appreciate it. Go
The
on up and
last
get it.
one might be. This is Louisville, Kentucky again. But actually, it's actually a good thing for Louisville.
Oh, so it's a bright spot for my man here. Can we celebrate
No.
this one? Or was it?
Interception.
Oh.
I was just looking at your face. I was trying to make you a little happier.
Wow.
But it's an interception for.
Christine out here playing people with her segment.
face.
That's crazy.
If you could see Gary's face right now, I just was, trying to. Get
That
a
was
little bit of help.
wild disrespectful.
Sorry.
That was so disrespectful.
It wasn't a good game for Louisville.
Why?
Like, do you have to triple down on this?
Why do y'all have to do me like this?
That's wild, disrespectful.
Why?
That
Must
is
y'all act this
incredible.
way?
It's all right.
You know what's best? Like, you know what'll help his feelings? If you just kind of, let's wash away. Let's go to
talk
the
about
now.
Texas A&M,
Let's forget the past.
LSU.
Yeah, let's talk about the now.
Texas A&M, LSU. Now this game is a big deal, right?
sure.
You guys know what happened last season.
Yep.
Correct.
Obviously, LSU is #1 in the country of the CFP, but still, this
7
is a big
overtime
deal
last year.
for LSU. So what do we got?
Coach,
The Frogman. Joe Burrow pass complete to Justin Jefferson for 12 yards and a TD, putting LSU up 13-0. Next, 78-yard pass to Jamar Chase. Look at this. He slings it.
Air it out.
Jamar Chase
one of the
for
top receivers in college football
the
today.
touchdown.
And so this is just another discussion about just how many weapons that they have offensively. And
Trevor, I'm sorry
this
to
is a
interrupt you,
great.
but I'm gonna stop you.
No,
real
go
quick.
ahead. Do you think?
Is this the same Texas A&M team that was one drive away from tying Georgia up?
It most
last
certainly
week?
Wow,
was.
here we go,
It
back
most
to
certainly
Or
was.
to win the game. Is this the same Texas A&M team
You have
that LSU was up on 21-0?
an absolute case to make. You do.
Oh, okay.
And again,
I just wanted to make sure if this is the same team. Just want to make sure.
no problem
But
at all.
after Alabama loses today, right?
Just want to make sure.
Who do you want in the #4 slot then?
Who would I put in the #4 slot right now? It'd have to be Utah.
Okay.
Depending on the performance, or regardless, if they win,
They
in.
got to go in.
If they win
If they
this
win.
week
If
and
they
next
win.
week,
Yep.
they're into you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if Oregon beats Utah?
In Oklahoma, you got to look at Oklahoma next.
Okay. I just think that, again,
And it'll
we
depend
got
on the Big Ten
We
championship
just
game
need
also.
to make sure that we have this discussion of best and most deserving, right? I understand that Georgia's wins aren't impressive, but you should also reward the fact of getting wins. I'm not saying that you're
Yeah,
weighing
that's
it
very
more, but there is a
Georgia is losing next week, guys and ladies.
Okay,
y'all understand me?
Let's say Georgia beats LSU. That's not gonna
Don't
happen.
make me throw
But
up.
let's, but let's say that happens. Let's say that happens.
Please don't
Okay,
make me
let's
throw
not.
up
Let's
on
not.
set.
We're not going to say that because we
Please.
don't want him getting sick.
We don't need that. No, we don't need that at all. But again, just to kind of circle back to just this best versus most deserving discussion that is to be had around this. It's always that marriage between the two.
Yeah.
And again, it's tougher to assign. I think it is tougher to assess, though. Again, 2 losses is 2 losses. I agree with you in that regard. But it is tough to assess if Georgia dominates the game like they did against Alabama last year for 3 quarters, right? And heroics from Joe Burrow at the end of the game ends up winning LSU that game. How then do you assess Georgia then?
That'd be
right?
a 2-loss team, though.
2-loss team, I agree. But like, does it at least sway the meter a little bit to kind of convince you that Georgia is a team that you should have had a little bit
Give
more
it more
respect for?
Yeah.
No, because you're a 2-loss team. You lost respect, in my eyes, when you lost to South Carolina.
Touche.
But you
at
were
home.
going hard for Alabama. Now Alabama is a 2-loss.
Next man up.
Let's check in on a team that like has nothing to do with the playoff. I think they're a brand name though. Like,
Notre Dame
why not?
and Stanford, the final 45-24 in favor of Notre Dame for this. Ian Book now has 4 touchdown passes, and that's the second most touchdown passes in a single season in Notre Dame history. He passed Brady Quinn, who had that in 2005.
Good-looking guy, Brady Quinn.
Yeah, very good-looking guy.
There's no shame in saying that. But Ian Book is a
They're looking
proficient.
good.
Yeah, they are.
Since the Michigan game where they got blew out, they've been looking good on offense, putting up points. They struggled in this one early, but they made that late push.
Notre Dame is such a conundrum to me too, right?
Facts.
They get the highly touted, they get the brand recognition, and for good reason. Obviously, Notre Dame, the story program that it is. Every time we get to see them on the national stage, though, it feels like they end up crapping out and like not being good as we had assumed. And they always schedule tough too. That's something you also have to commend them for. They don't have a conference to even sort of work around, but even with that sort of basis, they schedule tough opponents week in and week out.
Teams better be lucky right now that Notre Dame lost to Michigan, because they would be in that one-loss discussion right now.
It would have to be. They would have to be. But that loss being to Georgia, does that take it away for you?
That loss been to Georgia? No. If the committee has Georgia in the 4th spot,
Again, I'm just kind of teeing
it would
up.
actually be an impressive loss.
Sure, right? Like a quality loss is the term that they throw around a lot. But then you also insert the dynamic of them not having a conference championship to play
Exactly,
for.
they're not playing.
But that would have been the same thing against Alabama if they would have got in.
Yeah, no, and again, like that
And if-
becomes a
and if
discussion point
Wisconsin
to
beats
have.
Ohio State, it'll be the same discussion. So
It's so much that goes into just the hypotheticals that go around, especially in Notre Dame. That's an independent that just gets to schedule whatever schedule they want to build out. But I think when we look forward, as we spin this thing forward on the College Football Show presented by AT&T, Conference Championship Weekend is next weekend. I think we have the most we have the hardiest slate of conference championship games that I feel like we've had in a while. Ones that have a lot more implications that we've had in seasons past, in that teams can make moves into the Final Four. There are teams that will inevitably drop out of that Final Four, and I'm excited to kind of see how it all plays out, specifically in that SEC championship, and that Big 12 one poses a pretty interesting question as well.
Well, the crazy thing about it, Trevor, is that, like you just said, this year, I remember previous years, I'm like, okay, I don't care about this conference championship game or this one. Every single conference championship game this year, I'm waiting to watch and look, and I'm pretty sure fans feel the same way.
Locked in. Yourself, you excited with what's one that you're looking forward to?
I feel like it's so interesting, right? Because there can be some really big upsets.
That's right.
And if there are upsets, that has huge implications for the college football playoff. And I think also when you look at like the Big 12, where there's, Oklahoma should win this one if they beat Baylor twice, but like it doesn't seem like it has that many implications. But then when you look at the other championships, if those things go awry, we obviously saw Alabama lose today. There's so many things that can happen.
The craziest thing that can happen next weekend in my eyes is Georgia beating LSU and Wisconsin beating Ohio State.
I'm rooting for so much chaos. You have no idea.
That would be the craziest thing that happened in college football.
Give me all the chaos. Speaking of stuff going off the rails, we're going to do that to close this show on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Non-sports debates. The first one we have up, a recent meme that surfaced that I think is just the cutest thing ever.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda indeed. Against Baby Groot though.
I like Baby Groot.
You like Baby Groot?
Yoda.
Okay, so let's flesh this out. Harry, make your case for Baby Groot.
Baby Groot is just so adorable.
That's not
Baby Groot.
But what is
that's
that?
Subjective.
Is Baby Yoda not also adorable?
He looks scary.
No, he doesn't.
Does he though?
Groot looks scarier than Yoda. Yoda looks like a baby in the face. Look at how innocent he is, hiding behind his
Groot
collar.
looks like he's a lot of fun. Baby
That's
Yoda
not.
doesn't look
We're
fun.
not asking if they're fun.
Well, we did just tee up
plead my case.
verses. Like just
Listen,
it's whatever
Baby
you want
Yoda
it to
is
be.
cuter than Baby Groot. That's all I gotta say.
But I feel like that's awfully subjective. You should probably substantiate
because
that.
Baby Yoda has a baby face. Groot has a face that looks like a piece of wood.
Well, he
That's
can't
what
help
he's made
his
of.
anatomical makeup. Like
He's made of wood.
What would you
It's
say
wood.
that about him?
That's what he's made of.
Wood cute.
It can be. In a rustic home, I've seen it look very good.
That's not cute.
Next debate we're gonna have. This one lit all kinds of people
Lord.
up on Twitter. Christine got lit up in the conference room in our discussion around this. Stuffing versus dressing. I will give Christine the floor first. Make your case as to why it should be called stuffing. I am already against you.
Remember who's watching you.
I have two things
Remember
to say.
who's watching you, Christine.
The first thing I will say is that dressing goes on salads, right? It is a drizzle of liquid that dresses salads. Stuffing gets stuffed into turkeys. It can or it might not. But
It should never be stuck in that cavity.
Should never
It
even be
doesn't
stuffed inside a
matter.
turkey.
The original reason for stuffing was to stuff the turkey.
They were wrong.
Why are you calling
I'm
it
disappointed
dressing?
in
You're
you,
not
and
dressing
you personally
the turkey.
know why I'm disappointed
You're
in
not
you.
dressing the turkey.
My rebuttal. You immediately dress the turkey by putting the dressing on top of the turkey when you consume
No, you
said
put
turkey.
cranberry sauce on turkey.
Listen,
That's also a bad take. Cranberry sauce king.
I know where
Get
I grew
outta
up
here.
at. I grew up in the South.
what it's for.
I grew up in the South side of Atlanta.
Correct.
And I know one thing we call it dressing.
All I know it by.
What do you
if
put-
if I
what do
call
you
it
put on your
stuffing,
salad?
I may get beat
Also,
up down the
salad
street.
dressing.
It's called stuffing. There we go.
It should never be stuffed into that cavity. We will leave the discussion at that. Now this one feels pretty easy, but I feel like we're gonna have a spicy take on this set. I really feel like we are.
Why does it feel easy?
Because I know my answer and it's right. What you mean? Cats versus dogs.
Harry, what you think?
No, I want you to go first.
You already know what I think.
State your case.
Cats.
Okay.
Obviously.
I
Okay,
told
well,
Chris-
here's the thing.
State your case, state
I
your
don't
case.
necessarily think cats are better than dogs, but a lot of people like to give cats a bad rep. And you know what? Cats are amazing.
But
okay?
wait, have the cats not earned that bad rep?
Heck no. I've never had a cat. All these crazy. I've had cats my whole life. Okay, I've never had a cat that's doing these crazy things people always say. Cats.
So just because you are exclusive from the club of bad experiences
Listen,
with cats,
that means
they have never done
bad
anything bad.
owners, not bad cats.
Really?
Just like
Every
a dog
cat
can have
owner
a bad
aside from
owner,
you?
yes.
But
all
you
of my
know
cats are
daggone
fire.
well.
All of my cats are fire.
But guess what, though?
Mm-hmm.
I'm stomping with the big dog.
See, Harry knows what it is.
That doesn't mean anything.
I'm
It
stomping
does. It
with
means
the
everything.
big dogs.
Listen. We all know that dogs are infinitely better than cats. It is a matter of them never holding a grudge.
Not only that,
My cat doesn't hold a grudge.
I got bit by one, and I still
A dog?
love them. Yeah.
See,
but cats
he
go
got
for
bit
your
by
eyes
one.
and
You
whatnot.
want something biting you?
What scared me with cats is when they do this little.
Before we run out of time,
little
let's
hissing.
agree on something on the way out. Sad fans are hilarious. And we can kind of just get a couple jokes off before we get up out of here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Your sad fans, they come from that Georgia game, and that is a Dogs fan that was sad even though they were up 17-0. Harry, can you explain why?
Well, I'll tell you this, young lady. They did not have a great performance early on, but you think you're sad now? Wait until a couple more days
Wow.
when you're in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which I'll be live and in color, and LSU puts a whooping on them.
But see, they'll never be in that situation. They
No,
won't have the paper bag over their head.
That's
I can always take
old
pride.
Saints days right there. With
Yes.
the bag
those
over
are
your
the
face.
good old days.
Tampa Bay days too.
You just don't want to see. You just don't want your face seen. That's what
Christine,
is happening. Now.
have you ever experienced, like, seen anybody? Has your fandom ever driven you? Do you want to put a paper bag over?
Heck no. Heck
No.
no. I've never been a sad fan.
That's totally.
I've been an angry fan, not a sad fan.
That's every single
Yeah.
week I watch the teams that I enjoy watching evidently. In any case, we appreciate you all joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. That was week 14, the final full slate of college football of the regular season. We'll wrap things up with the conference championship weekend next week. That is Christine Williamson. We appreciate her joining us, Harry Douglas as well, our production crew, for kind of keeping us in line. And for you watching here on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app, that has been week 14 until week 15. Be easy.
My knee.
Yeah, clear? Appreciate it.